I'm Emile Flowers with the Divorce Lending Association. I'm a certified divorce lending professional, or CDLP, and this is part of your divorce literacy series. And today I'm here with Regina Wells with Summer Compton Wells. And I'd love for you to introduce yourself and tell me a little bit about what you do, Regina.
Well, hello, everyone. And Emily, thank you so much for having me. This is a vital service that you're providing, and I'm honored to be a part of it. I am a domestic relations or family law attorney. I specialize particularly in marital relationships. I shouldn't say specialize. I like to focus a lot on helping marital relationships in that we help folks not only in planning and processing through a divorce and attempting to reach their ideal goals, whether those be financial, familial, or personal in a divorce, but also I really try to help educate and guide people through planning processes for uncoupling, as some like to say, where we think about how to do so in a smart and thoughtful and strategic way ahead of time, whether that be through mediation or other alternative dispute resolution, or through prenuptial and postnuptial agreements. But my practice does encompass all areas of family law.
Oh my goodness, you are just so wonderful anyway. But I love your story about how you started to specialize in divorce. Could you just give me just the awesome version of it and tell our listeners about it, please?
Well, the first time I ended up in family law was, I'll have to say it had to be my mom behind the scenes handling that. I intended never to be a litigator or trial attorney. I wanted to be a transactional estate planning and tax attorney. I know how boring that sounds. I already know. So everyone who's cringing right now, I get it, trust me. But that's kind of what I wanted to do. My mom, however, very much wanted me to be a litigator because she felt like I was a natural fighter and a natural speaker and really enjoyed arguing, as she and my dad like to say. Then, as life turned out, I actually did just kind of fall into family law after I left corporate defense litigation. Then I left family law to return to corporate defense litigation and ultimately returned to family law in 2010 is when I came back. I think that's about right. Because part of what I did in my prior lives was really not helpful to us as a society. It was very helpful to businesses and very helpful to personal purses, but it wasn't really helpful to people. I probably caused more problems. I made things more expensive in our country. So I left that world and decided the one place where I made a difference, where I felt like my education and my background and my expertise and my skills not only could combine to really produce a result and not feel so disorganized or disconnected from each other, was in family law. And it's the one area where I really get to fight for people who can't fight for themselves or don't fight for themselves. I get to educate people so that their rights are protected, because a lot of what happens in family law, particularly in divorces and child custody cases and maintenance cases, is people don't know what they don't know. Mm-hmm. And then they make decisions based on a lack of knowledge. So I really found that being able to be such a nerd about the law as I am allowed me to help other people.
True. Well, I mean, listen, y'all, Regina is as sassy as they come, but she is also smart as whip, but is able to talk to anyone on their level. And so I know this for a fact. Our first meeting was 3 hours. So I know that she cares. And so tell me a little bit about, how you educate and a little bit, how your practice revolves around educating.
From the very first moment that I meet clients, whether that be an initial consultation or a cocktail party or a phone conversation, the very first thing I do is ask them about their goals. What is it they want their picture to look like at the end of their case, whether it's a divorce case or a guardianship case or a child custody modification case? I need to start with the end picture for me to be able to paint that or even know what colors to pick out. Once I am able to understand what my clients or my potential clients or my friend or my neighbor or acquaintance's goal is and what their interests are, not just what product or result do they want at the end, but why do they need to have that result? That's going to help me understand better what their understanding is and their educational background on the law, as well as helping them make choices. So from there, I'm able to start educating people about what law impacts their goals, how we can develop strategic paths towards their goals, if not right to their goals. But I always want to tell my clients what the law provides, what strategy we can then develop based upon the law, what facts can be developed and not created, but actually developed or encouraged to help best position them. And then as we go through the process, I'm educating about the process of divorce itself. So many times people think what they've seen on television or in movies about lawyers, particularly about us as litigators and trial attorneys, they think what they see on TV is the end all be all, and that's how it works. Every state, every court, every judge is so different. So it's really important to help clients understand what a particular judge does and how they handle their courtroom, what that experience looks like, what the different tasks that I'm going to ask my client to engage in look like, and what the purposes of these tasks are. So even something as simple as drafting a motion or a letter to another attorney, I'm going to explain to my client why it's important to do this, what it is we're hoping to achieve, and if we don't achieve what we're hoping, what our alternative paths are going to be. So it's a constant give and take in communication. And I also check in with clients constantly and ask them, let's take a stopping point here. Tell me what I've thrown a lot of information at you. Tell me what questions you have or what you don't understand or what you need to know from me.
Wow. That answered so many questions all at one time. What insight would you think is the most important for, clients out there really seeking that, just really contemplating divorce and just not knowing what to do? Give us a little bit of insight, or maybe even a tip of where they should start, or what questions they should really come prepared with.
Well, first, I'm going to give you more than one tip if you don't mind, because
Yay.
this is such a landmine experience that people can walk through, or at least that's the feeling they have, is that every turn could be a landmine waiting for them. And in some senses, it actually can. And I don't mean to be fatalistic with that. But again, it goes back to not knowing what you don't know. You don't know what the impact of certain decisions can be later on. So something very minor, seemingly minor, like agreeing that your spouse can go buy a new house before you even plan for filing for divorce, but you know you're headed that way. Even that can have significant impact later on in property division and maintenance and child custody. So one of the first things I'm always going to recommend is, and I know most attorneys probably may not agree with me, and most people are going to be shocked that I even say this because it sounds like I'm cutting my own limbs off. Google. Everyone needs to get on Google. It is a valuable tool. And I say that for several reasons. One, you need to find legal professionals and financial professionals early in the process. And you don't want to just trust what Aunt Jane's, cousin Lou's, sister's friend Mary said was a great attorney for their case 12 years ago. You want to be matched up with the most reliable professionals and the most relatable professionals for your case. This is going to be one of the most important relationships you ever engage in. So you need to do your research on your professionals, whom you're going to work with, what attorneys you're going to work with, what certified divorce lending professionals you're going to work with, what certified divorce financial analysts you're going to work with, what therapists or counselors you're going to work with, because a lot of times family law cases really do take a tribe of a support network. So that's the first place, is start with Google to look for your professionals and learn about them. Learn about the people that you are going to be having walking you through the most important journey you're going to go through, because these are the folks who are going to impact your life moving forward long after they're gone from your life. Also, start getting some rudimentary information about your particular circumstances. And I'm not saying to get advice from Google, but start getting a lay of the land so that you're knowledgeable about some of the terms that you're going to hear from your attorneys, from your financial planners, from your other professionals that you're working with. And then develop a list of questions as you think of them. Write down all of your questions in preparation, whether you're going to meet with a mediator or with a litigator trial attorney. Write down your questions. This is a confusing and scary time. And believe me, there are times when you will forget your name and you will forget what color the sky is right in front of you. And that's okay. Those of us who have been through it with you, we know that. We know how to help coax you through that. But I say this to say, write your questions down all the time so that you always have a running list of questions. And if you don't feel that you're getting full answers with explanations and not just yeses and nos and you can't, you must, then it's probably time to start thinking about a different professional to work with. But one of the tips I'm going to offer in addition to that is understand that family law is not a winning or losing proposition. No one is truly going to win in the concept of how we think about winning, and no one's really going to lose in the way that we think about losing. It's really about going back to what does the picture look like at the end? So understand and accept early in the process that there is no winning or losing, and that there is not an emotional punishment or an emotional redress in divorces or other family law cases. The law is not built to deal with our emotional needs and our psychological needs. And sometimes those can cause us to make choices that lead to counterproductive results for us in our family law cases, and sometimes lead to much higher costs and much greater emotional damage afterwards.
Wow. Yep. I agree with 1000% with what you said. I kind of think of it the same way as going to the doctor's office. You know, you're keeping track of your symptoms as you go, because you could feel something totally different the day you go and not think of the rest. So you're keeping that running tab, even if it's on your, cell phone notes section or something. Keep a list of questions. And I think that that's, perfect. But man, great tips. So I thank you so much for spending time with me today. I am so glad you agreed to do this interview, and I was so excited for you to come on. If somebody wants to get a hold of you, how would they do that?
You can find me at summerscomptonwells.com. You can also find me on LinkedIn or on Facebook as Regina Wells. You'll see my banner says Family Law Frankly with Regina Wells, because I do try my best to be frank with everyone and honest so I don't waste your time or money. And then you can also find all of my contact information on my website or my firm's website, as well as on LinkedIn and on Facebook.
Great. We're also going to include all of that in the notes below. So, no worries trying to go anywhere else to contact her. We'll have it for you. Any final thoughts or tips or just anything?
Plan early. Plan early. And I say that because so many times people, whether they believe that they may get divorced, they might get divorced, they're thinking about divorce. Here's the deal. At the end of the day, 50% of us are going to deal with a domestic relations matter where we are uncoupling from one another, whether that be a formal dissolution of marriage or a separation, or the uncoupling of an unmarried couple. Just because we buy insurance for cancer doesn't mean we think we're going to get cancer. Just because we buy insurance for car accidents doesn't mean we think we're going to have a car accident. But we want to be protected and not have to worry about it if we do. Unfortunately, for better or worse, family law is really the same way. If you think about getting into a relationship, if you think about having children, or you think about ending any of those relationships where you've had children, or you have property together, or you have intermingled finances, start buying your insurance policy, meaning talk with someone about a prenuptial agreement or a postnuptial agreement, even if everything's rosy. Talk with people about mediation and alternative dispute resolution so that you can avoid the emotional and financial costs of litigation. But do your planning early.
I think that that is an exceptional tip to say, and just to have your ducks in a row. Even on the traditional mortgage side, I want you to know that there's documentation that's going to have you know, to happen with any anything that you're going to be doing. You're going to need it for you. You're going to need it for me. You're going to need it for anything that you do. So planning early and really thinking about that process is a great one. I thank you so much, and I look forward to continuing to work with you and to letting everybody know about you. I can't wait to share this.
Emily, thank you so much. I appreciate you, and I feel the same way. Thank you, and thank you for doing this.
Absolutely.